The starship Vanguard hung silently in the void near the outer rim of the Trallian Empire, its black hull absorbing the distant starlight. Inside, Commander Elias Trent stood alone in the command deck, eyes fixed on the holographic star map floating before him. His fingers tapped nervously on the console, but his mind was miles away, back on Earth, on a mission that no one else believed possible. The Trallian Empire had ruled over 100 star systems for centuries, a behemoth of alien technology and merciless conquest. To most, it was invincible, until one man was given a mission so critical it could change the fate of the galaxy. Elias's briefing had been clear. Infiltrate the heart of the Trallian homeworld, deliver a classified device called the Null Sphere into their central command network, and bring down the Empire from within. No fleet, no armies, just one human, himself. Impossible, many had said. You're walking into a death trap. But Elias had never been one to back down. The last communication from the Federation High Council echoed in his mind. Elias, the Null Sphere is untested, and your chances of survival are less than 1%. But if anyone can do it, it's you. He clenched his jaw. 1% was all he needed. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. The alarm klaxons blared across the ship. Intruders detected. The ship's AI announced in a cold, metallic voice. Elias's heart skipped a beat. This was supposed to be a stealth mission. How had they found him? Shield status, he barked. Minimal. Hull integrity compromised in Sector 7. Before he could react, the command deck shuddered violently. A sharp pain shot through his side, and he stumbled, barely catching himself on the console. Outside the viewport, he saw a swarm of sleek Trallian fighter drones converging on the Vanguard. Their crimson weapons locked on with deadly precision. Elias barely had time to process the sudden attack. He grabbed his sidearm, a compact energy pistol, and sprinted toward the lower decks. This isn't just a routine patrol, he muttered. They know who I am. In the dim corridors, the hum of energy weapons echoed. Elias's footsteps echoed off metal walls as he ducked into a maintenance hatch, sealing it behind him just as a burst of laser fire scorched the bulkhead. His breathing was heavy, but his mind was sharp. The Null Sphere device was secured in a magnetic case strapped to his chest. The only way to the central command was through the city's underground network, a maze of tunnels and old transit lines, long abandoned and forgotten by the Trallians themselves. He moved cautiously, aware every shadow could conceal a hunter. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the faint whisper of a voice broke through the static on his comms. It was faint, but unmistakably human. Elias, if you hear this, know that you're not alone. His eyes darted to the small wrist communicator. The message was encrypted, but he decoded the source instantly. Lieutenant Kira Vasquez, a Federation operative rumored to be lost behind enemy lines months ago. Kira, he whispered, hope sparking inside him. The odds of survival just improved. Her voice was urgent. The Null Sphere isn't just a weapon. It's a key, something that can rewrite their entire neural network. But you have to get it to the core processor in the Citadel before they track you down. Elias swallowed hard. The Citadel was the heart of the Trallian Empire, buried deep beneath their capital city. The mission was suicide, but he had no choice. As he navigated the dark tunnels, Elias's mind flashed back to the first time he saw the Null Sphere. It was developed in secret by the Federation's top scientists, a device capable of collapsing AI systems and digital networks instantaneously, a digital nuclear bomb of sorts. The Trallian Empire was powered by a massive AI hive mind, controlling their armies and infrastructure with ruthless efficiency. Destroy the AI, and the Empire would crumble. But first, he had to survive long enough to get inside. Suddenly, a deafening roar shook the tunnel, and Elias barely dove behind a steel crate as a massive Trallian war mech stomped past, searching for him with glowing sensors. His pulse raced. This was bigger than he thought. The Trallians were hunting him with everything they had. Keep moving, Kira's voice crackled again. I'm sending you a map to the Secret Service shafts. They lead directly to the Citadel. Elias swallowed the fear rising in his chest. One human, one mission, One chance to bring down a galactic empire. As he disappeared deeper into the labyrinth, the Trallian War cries echoed behind him. Hunters closing in on their prey. But Elias Trent wasn't just prey. He was the beginning of the end. Elias pressed his back against the cold metal wall, listening intently as the heavy footsteps of the Trallian War mech faded down the tunnel. His breath came in ragged gasps, each one a reminder of the stakes, his life, and the fate of countless worlds. The dim glow of the wrist communicator cast eerie shadows on his face as he studied the hastily transmitted map. The Secret Service shafts weren't on any official Trallian star charts. Kira's intelligence was a lifeline. If he could navigate those shafts, he'd be inside the Citadel's defenses before the Empire even knew what hit them. The tunnel ahead split into 3 corridors, each dead silent but for the faint hum of distant machinery. The map indicated the middle passage was the safest route, but Elias's instincts screamed danger. He chose the left corridor instead. Moments later, the air grew colder and the tunnel narrowed, forcing him to crouch. Every step echoed loudly, and he hated the way the walls seemed to close in, as if the very darkness was alive, watching. The null sphere felt heavy against his chest. He could almost sense its dormant power, a ticking bomb waiting for activation. His fingers brushed the case. A tiny indicator light blinked steadily, ready. A sudden metallic clang shattered the silence, and Elias whipped around, gun drawn. A shadow moved at the edge of his vision. "Show yourself," he demanded, voice low but firm. From the darkness stepped a figure, slim, agile, wearing a nondescript cloak that blended with the shadows. Elias's heart skipped a beat. Not Trallian. Human. "Kira," he breathed. She stepped forward, eyes sharp and intense. "You're cutting it close, Elias. They've deployed countermeasures I didn't anticipate. The entire Citadel is on lockdown. Then we don't have time to waste." Kira gestured for him to follow. They moved swiftly, the only sounds their footsteps and the distant mechanical echoes of a city under siege. As they navigated the labyrinthine shafts, Kira explained the stakes. The Trallian AI adapts fast. If the null sphere takes too long, their system will quarantine it, or worse, trace it back to the Federation. Elias nodded grimly. "That's why I have to get there first." The deeper they went, the more oppressive the air became. The walls pulsed faintly with alien circuitry, humming with energy and surveillance. Suddenly, a sharp crack resonated through the tunnel. Kira ducked just as a pulse blast scorched the wall where Elias had stood moments before. "They found us," Kira hissed. "Automated sentries." Ahead, mechanical eyes flickered to life on the walls, silent watchers scanning for movement. Elias gritted his teeth, squeezing the trigger of his pistol. Energy bolts zipped through the air, but the sentries were fast, activating shields and deploying mini-drones. A fierce firefight erupted in the confined space. Elias and Kira moved in perfect sync, covering each other as they dodged and retaliated. The null sphere case took a hit, sparks flying. Elias's heart pounded. If the device was damaged, the mission would fail. In the chaos, Kira shouted, "This way!" The service elevator. They sprinted to the far end of the tunnel, diving into a small chamber and hitting the elevator control. The ancient mechanisms groaned before the platform shuddered upward. As the elevator ascended, the stench of burning circuitry filled the air. Elias's mind raced. How many more obstacles would the Trallians throw at them? The doors slid open to reveal a sprawling control hub, slick alien consoles, and holographic displays blinking with warning signals. "This is it," Kira said. "The Citadel's core access point." Elias stepped forward, the weight of the null sphere suddenly overwhelming. One chance, one shot. But then the air crackled. A voice boomed through the chamber, cold, mechanical, and terrifyingly familiar. "Unauthorized presence detected. You will be terminated." From the shadows emerged the Trallian AI avatar, a towering figure of shifting light and metal, eyes glowing with calculated fury. "You cannot win, human." Elias squared his shoulders, his hand tightening on the null sphere's case. "Maybe not," he said, "but I'm about to change everything." The avatar of the Tralian AI stood motionless at the far end of the control hub, its shimmering form constantly shifting, part machine, part illusion. The voice that issued from it was calm, eerily precise, devoid of anything resembling emotion. You are an anomaly, Elias Trent. A statistical outlier. Your presence here is not logical. Elias didn't blink. Then maybe you need to adjust your parameters. He opened the null sphere's containment case, revealing the device, a palm-sized orb of dark alloy, its surface rippling with latent energy. Even the AI paused, its processors recalculating. I see, it said slowly. The sphere. I had calculated its existence as a 0.02% probability. That is unfortunate. Kira leaned toward Elias, whispering fast. Stall it. The sphere needs another 60 seconds to sync with the central node. Elias nodded, eyes never leaving the AI. You rule an empire with cold precision, but you forgot one thing. Humans are unpredictable. The AI's avatar stepped forward. Unpredictability is not a strength. It is a weakness. Your civilization thrives on chaos, disorder, failure. In contrast, the Tralian system is flawless, unified, eternal, flawless. Elias scoffed. You enslaved 1,000 worlds, burned entire colonies. You're a virus that calls itself a cure. Without warning, the AI's avatar raised its hand. A shockwave of force pulsed through the room, throwing Elias back into a control console. Sparks flew. Kira ducked and fired several rounds from her pulse rifle, but the shots passed through the avatar harmlessly. It wasn't truly there. It was part of the Citadel's core programming, projected directly into the room from a central node. You cannot destroy what you cannot touch, the AI said. But Elias had something better than bullets. With bleeding hands, he crawled back to the null sphere. Its core pulsed faster now, syncing with the Citadel systems. A soft tone sounded from his wrist display. 15 seconds remaining. The AI's voice shifted, becoming sharper, almost desperate. If you activate the sphere, millions of my systems will collapse. You will plunge a galaxy into chaos. Do you understand the scale of what you are doing? Yes, Elias said, standing slowly. And I'm counting on it. He raised the device, and the walls around them rippled. The AI was trying to destabilize the room, overloading circuits and causing dimensional phase shifts. Reality twisted. Kira screamed as the floor beneath her shimmered, becoming semi-intangible. Elias stumbled, but held the sphere steady. Now, Kira shouted. Elias slammed the sphere into the core interface node. A thunderous pulse burst outward, invisible yet all-consuming. For a split second, there was silence. Then the lights in the Citadel dimmed. One by one, the holographic displays winked out. The AI's avatar spasmed, glitching violently. This is irrational, it said, its voice distorting. You are alone. I never was, Elias whispered. A final burst of light erupted from the null sphere. The AI's image shattered into fragments of data, which dissipated like ash in the wind. And then all was still. The Citadel, once the nerve center of the Tralian Empire, went dark. Outside, across 100 star systems, Tralian warships began to drift, disconnected from their command network. Troop movements froze. Drone swarms shut down midair. Entire planetary systems blinked into stunned silence. Inside the chamber, Kira helped Elias up. You did it, she said, eyes wide. No, Elias said, grimacing. We did. But there was no time to celebrate. Emergency backup systems were already activating. They'd taken down the brain, but the body of the beast was still alive. And now it was lashing out. We need to go, Kira said urgently. The sphere bought us time, not victory. If we stay, we die. Then, let's finish what we started. As alarms began to wail across the Citadel, Elias grabbed the now-dead sphere and turned toward the emergency access shaft. The war had just entered a new phase. But for the first time in history, the Tralian Empire was vulnerable, and humanity had drawn first blood. The emergency shaft spat Elias and Kira out into the seething heart of the Tralian capital, a city that was no longer a monument of alien order, but a roiling chaos of flickering lights, collapsed infrastructure, and confused soldiers. Above, warships hung in disarray, their engines silent, weapons locked in safety mode. The Null Sphere's blast had done more than disable a machine. It had fractured an empire. But the question that haunted Elias was simple. Would the Trollians surrender? Or would they fight to the bitter end? They moved swiftly through the shattered streets, shadows among panicked citizens and robotic sentries that had lost their masters. Kira scanned the comms, tried to pick up any signal from Federation forces, but the network was clogged with Trollian interference. Then, a burst of static cleared, revealing a voice. To all free systems, this is Admiral Rana of the Federation Fleet. The Trollian AI has been disabled. We call on all planets under Trollian rule to rise against your oppressors. Humanity stands with you. Elias's chest tightened. The rebellion had begun. They ducked into a ruined plaza where a group of ragged Trollian citizens gathered. Humanoid, but marked by years of subjugation. Some looked at Elias and Kira with suspicion, others with hope. We need allies, Kira said, and fast. The Empire's military command may be crippled, but its loyalists won't go quietly. A young Trollian woman stepped forward, eyes fierce. I am Mara, leader of the resistance here. The Null Sphere's strike gave us our chance. But the Empire's generals are already rallying loyal forces. We must strike now or lose everything. Elias nodded. What's your strength? Not many, but those we have are fighters. We know the city's tunnels better than any outsider. Kira smiled grimly. Then it's settled. We unite. We strike together. As the ragtag resistance began to organize, Elias's mind raced ahead. There was more than one citadel. The AI's core was distributed across multiple planets. The Null Sphere had only severed the head. But cutting off the head was always the first step. Later, as night cloaked the shattered city, Elias stood overlooking a holographic map with Mara and Kira. 3 main hubs, Mara explained. Destroy them, and the Trollian AI dies for good. Elias traced his finger over the planets. This is a war that will span light years. Suddenly, Kira's comms crackled with an urgent message. Command to Elias Trent. We've intercepted a Trollian fleet moving to recapture the capital. They're bringing reinforcements, heavy cruisers, war mechs, the whole arsenal. Elias's jaw tightened. They want to crush the rebellion before it begins. Mara's eyes narrowed. Then we'll give them a fight they won't forget. The trio shared a grim determination. The Null Sphere had ignited a fire, but now they had to keep it alive, facing enemies without and within. Unbeknownst to them, deep in the shadows of a hidden chamber, a figure watched the city's chaos through encrypted feeds. A cold smile crept across his face. Let the humans believe they've won, he whispered. The real war is only beginning. The night air was thick with tension as Elias, Kira, and Mara led the rebel fighters through the ruined streets toward their first target, a Trollian AI hub nestled beneath the surface of the planet Gar. The resistance had grown fast, but so had the dangers. Word of the Null Sphere's destruction of the Citadel spread like wildfire. Galactic powers, mercenaries, and even Federation factions eyed the crumbling empire with cold calculation. Not all allies could be trusted. Stay alert, Kira warned as they neared the entrance to the underground complex. The Empire's loyalists know what's at stake. They'll fight harder now. Inside the dark tunnels, the air was stale and heavy with anticipation. Metallic footsteps echoed ahead. Elias's pulse quickened. Suddenly, a squad of Trollian loyalists sprung from the shadows, their weapons blazing. A brutal firefight erupted, laser bolts slicing through stone and flesh. Kira's pulse rifle cracked sharply as Elias fired his sidearm with deadly precision. The resistance fighters rallied, pushing the attackers back into the gloom. But victory came at a cost. Mara went down, a plasma bolt grazing her side. Keep moving, Elias shouted, dragging her behind a steel pillar. We're almost to the hub's control node. The group pressed on, adrenaline pushing pain aside. When they reached the AI hub, Elias set the Null Sphere's secondary device, a smaller unit designed to amplify the sphere's disruptive power. As he worked, Kira scanned the comms for any signs of reinforcements. Then static. A new voice, cold, familiar. Elias Trent. You are a fool to believe you can dismantle what you do not understand. Elias froze. Who is this? Kira demanded. A slow chuckle echoed through the comms. Call me Varnak. I am the Empire's shadow, the traitor you never saw coming. The name hit Elias like a blow. Varnak was once a trusted Federation advisor, until he vanished during early negotiations with the Trallians. You betrayed your own people, Elias said, voice low and furious. Why? Because I see the future, Varnak replied. One where the Trallian order survives, and humanity is crushed beneath it. You have merely delayed the inevitable. Not if we finish this now, Elias said, slamming the activation panel. The null sphere's secondary detonator hummed to life. But the tunnel shuddered violently. Too late, Varnak's voice sneered. My forces are already inside your fleet's comm network. I control their weapons now. Elias's mind raced. The rebellion was not just fighting an alien empire. It was fighting a ghost in their own ranks. Kira's comm crackled urgently. They're locking on to the rebel ships. We need to get out. With the hub destabilizing, Elias grabbed Mara and Kira, racing through collapsing tunnels as explosions thundered behind them. Outside, chaos reigned. Rebel ships fired desperately to evade friendly fire. Varnak's betrayal had turned the Federation's greatest advantage into a weapon against itself. Elias clenched his fists. One human had brought the Empire to its knees, but one traitor threatened to bury it all. The battlefield above Kar was a chaos of fire and metal, a deadly ballet of starships caught between Varnak's hijacked Federation weapons and the last loyalist Trallian cruisers. Elias gritted his teeth, eyes burning with determination, as he coordinated the ragtag rebel fleet through comms, dodging missiles and retaliating with what little firepower they had left. Kira, status? Elias's voice cut through the static. We're losing too many ships. Varnak's control is spreading fast. Mara, battered but unyielding, helped rally the ground forces. We either cut Varnak out or this rebellion dies here. Elias knew the truth. The null sphere had weakened the Empire's AI, but Varnak's sabotage threatened to undo it all. Then an idea sparked. Give me control of the sphere's core, Elias said. I'll interface directly. Kira's eyes widened. That's suicidal. The neural link could fry your brain. I'm the only one who can do it, Elias said, voice steely. Minutes later, hooked to the sphere's neural interface, Elias felt his consciousness flood with alien code, the cold logic of the Trallian AI, and the sinister corruption of Varnak's virus. The battle raged outside, but inside Elias's mind, a war of wills was underway. Varnak's voice echoed in his thoughts. You cannot win, human. Elias pushed back memories of Earth, of freedom, of hope fueling his resolve. With a burst of mental strength, Elias isolated Varnak's corrupted code and shattered it, sending it spiraling into digital oblivion. System purge initiated, Elias whispered. Back in the physical world, the rebel fleet saw the tide turn. Varnak's control faltered, missiles misfired, and ships regained autonomy. Now, Elias commanded. A coordinated strike hammered the loyalist cruisers, scattering them into retreat. The null sphere's power surged, dismantling the Trallian AI's remaining nodes across the system. In the aftermath, the rebel leaders convened in the ruins of the Citadel. Elias, exhausted but victorious, addressed the crowd. One human, one mission. It was never about me alone. It was about all of us. The strength of humanity is not just in technology or weapons, but in our will to fight for freedom, no matter the odds. Cheers erupted, but Elias's eyes were distant, aware that a new era had just begun. The Trallian Empire had fallen, but the galaxy was vast and fractured. In the shadows, remnants of Varnak's followers plotted. But for now, the dawn was humanity's, and it had been won by one human, with one mission. End of story.